been raving terror, stoking our fears from deep in your lair. We're here to tell you the time has come. This is our kingdom today.
Who are the fools who would dare threaten me?
Dragon can fall, we'll slay you with our mighty sword. Dragon can fall, your heart will soon be ours. Dragon can fall, you are the beast we're training for. We are the party who dare threaten you. We have no fear of your ancient power. Your rapid fire will not make us cower. We're here to tell you that the spells are cast. You will not last the night.
You are the fools who will now feel my wrath.
Dragon can fall, we'll slay you with our mighty sword. Dragon can fall, your heart will soon be ours. Dragon can fall, you are the beast we're training for. We are the party who now will fight back. Quick, grab the magic bow. All distracted. You'll never defeat me, dragon.
Prepare to meet your doom.
Dragon can fall. We slay him with our mighty swords. Dragon can fall. His heart will now be ours. Dragon can fall. He was the beast we're training for. We are the party who claim victory. From the depths of the dungeons to the tavern brawls, save the king, killed a giant. We've been through it all. I could fill up a tome, but you're not coming home. Well, we all saw it happen. We're the ones you saved. Gonna light you a candle. Gonna tell your tale by the light of the moon. We'll remember you, dying a hero. Tried to help you with that diamond, but it wouldn't save your soul. On that fateful day, the evil wizard came. Now everybody in this realm is singing out your name. Can you hear us sitting out there in the astral plane? Our adventures together went to hell and back. Spent the day slaying dragons and escaping traps, but massive damage is done. Now you're really gone. But we'll remember you, dying a hero. Tried to help you with that diamond, but sitting out there in the astral plane. We'll remember you, pioneer. Tried to help you with that diamond, but it wouldn't save your soul. And on that fateful day, the evil wizard came. Now everybody in this family singing out your name. Can you hear us? Sitting out there in the astral plane. Can you hear us? Sitting out there in the astral plane.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Office Hours. Happy 2025. We got some happy Dungeon Master Roy, I believe. Happy birthday to you. And what else? Thank you for liking the music. Me and my team worked really hard on that. But yeah, we're really excited. Welcome to Office Hours, team. I got some fun stuff to talk about. I got some stuff in the works, etc. Let's see. Let's start with an interesting. I'm going to show you two different. Let's see. There's a 7.6. Okay. I'm going to show you some kind of interesting data around what day of the week people are playing games. And this is going to be the one during the holiday. During the holiday. This is when people were playing games. Let me make it bigger. Okay. So this is during the holidays. This is what was popular, and then I have after the holidays. So after the holidays ended, or I have pre-holiday. So the month leading up to it. Oh, is it still quiet? Wow, I have this like turned up so loud. Okay. Well. All the way. There we go. Let me know if that sounds better. But yeah. Here is. I don't know, guys. I don't find it quite. Okay. What? You know what it is. Oh God, that's too loud. Okay. All right. How about not too quiet? There we go. Calm down. Too loud. Okay. Peeking your mic. Is it better now? Perfect. Okay. Wonderful. You know what's funny? I put it right back to where it was. Let's see. What was I? Oh yeah. So this is this is during holiday. This is when people are playing games. Monday became a lot more popular during the holidays. Now you can see. Thursday, Wednesday, Friday. Now, this data is actually only for people playing in the starter set games. So this is kind of something to like, this doesn't include veteran players, people who've been playing. This is just for newbies. But when newbies were like, hey, when do I want to play this game? It looked like Friday, Wednesday, Thursday were kind of like these, I don't want to give this day up, but I'm willing to give up a Monday or Tuesday. And then it looks like Saturday and Sunday is probably just because people, they probably don't have availability Monday through Friday. And so that's why Saturday and Sunday is up there. So there's not a lot you can glean from here, except that Saturday is just the most popular. And if I actually go and I'll load up, this is pre-holiday. So this is starter set games before the holiday. All right. Before the holiday, not a whole lot changed. But again, with these starter set games, Monday's kind of popular. Monday. Sorry. Someone just got back from her walk. She's very excited. Yes, so Mondays are kind of popular for learn to play players, people who want to learn how to play the game. Yeah, sure, I can put them side by side. Holiday and pre-holiday. On the left-hand side is holiday, and on the right-hand side is before the holiday. Yes, yes. Okay, you ready? All right, go back. So, that's just something that's kind of neat. Normally we assume that Monday is the least popular, and then Saturday and Sunday the most popular, because that's how historically we've seen that data. But when we look at players who are like brand new to the game, they now this is also just for one shots. So you got to keep that in mind too. They are kind of prioritizing Monday before some other days. I think that might be because, either Saturday and Sunday is the only days I can do it. If I'm going to do it during the week, I want to do it in the earlier part of the week when I have less things going on. So yeah, that's kind of the big thing. Now, if you look at the holiday just in general, it's about the same as it's always been. If you include like ongoing campaigns, one shots, Monday's the least popular, Saturday and Sunday are the most popular, and they're just kind of like tied for it. But this is just for like newbie D&D games, learn to play sessions. What about times run? Dreams, that's kind of all over the place, but the times run on the starter set are very, they're chosen times that we chose just for US time zones. And they're all pretty much equally booked. But if I gave that data, like I don't want people to, I guess, make a decision with that data because that data is like railroaded. Like we chose those times. So of course those times are popular because those are the only times you had that you can choose from. DM Dan, thank you for typing question in all caps and then your question. That makes things really easy to find. What about pre-holiday stats you showed? Also just start. Yeah, both were starter set. Both were starter set. It was really easy because we were able to tell like the demand that was being driven. And the problem is when people go through that flow, they usually go through once. They don't go through multiple times. So they pick one day and then they go through it. When you look at the site, someone might pick 7 different days. They might go through all of them. And it's hard to tell if they are open to all of them or if they're just trying to see what's exploring. So it's a little bit harder to glean information just from search generally. So this was very kind of like detailed experience for a very particular demographic. Great question. Okay. Let's talk about the play pages. So many reviews going in there. This is cool. Let me go ahead and bring one of these up. Question, do you have stats overall for when people play? Anthony Crohn's, yeah, it hasn't changed. It's the evenings and it's the weekends. That's when people play, primarily in U.S. times. But if you just try to optimize for like where everyone else is playing, you definitely could miss out when you could be running your best game. So if running your best game is Fridays at noon, then run your best game Fridays at noon because there is players out there for that. It just so happens that if we look at when most people play, it's going to be U.S. leisure times, right? Most people in the U.S. have leisure times in the evenings and on the weekends. So you're going to see a trend that always shows that. Dear Sign, what's the current GM player ratio to the website? I mean, I can't give you an exact number, but it's definitely way, 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 way more players, like active players to active GMs. But it's nowhere near it's not like a 1-to-1, 1-to-2, 1-to-3, 1-to-4, 1-to-5, 1-to-7. It's much bigger than that. Dan, how much work would it take to get those kind of stats for non-starter set games? It would be really useful to see what day and times, seeing it just a little more detail. DM Dan, those times are pretty much I've already kind of spoken about. For non-starter set games, Monday is the least popular day and Saturday and Sunday the most popular day. It kind of ramps up from there. And then any of the evening times in the US are popular for games. So, evening in the Pacific time, evening in the East Coast time, those are all popular times. Charles Wolf, where are folks advertising the most? Just on SPG, other places? You can go ahead and hit up the Discord for that kind of stuff. Let me go ahead and bring up this. Okay. How does the active players to GM numbers compare to, say, 3 years ago? Oh, Tizzy, the number 3 years ago, are so paltry compared to today. It's so funny when we think about accomplishments and where we've grown, because it's not even 3x bigger. It's, maybe 30x bigger. Let's see. Okay. We want to talk about these. Let me go ahead and share this screen. Okay. So we got this fun little project that we're working on. Make this nice and easy to share. Mac OS screen record, window capture. We want to capture Chrome. Google Chrome. Play DD. I think this is right. Okay, cool. All right, take a look at this team. Well, where'd it go? Oh my gosh, it's so tiny. There we go. Okay. So I think a lot of you know about this page. These are the play pages. Our goal is to have 100 of these play pages by the end of February. And these play pages, they have, there's a number of them. If we actually want to go here to start playing, we scroll down. Right now, these are the only ones that you see, but we have Avatar Legends coming soon. We have Lancer coming soon. We have Fallout coming soon. Star Trek Adventures coming soon. But if we go in here, we can see these are the most recent reviews. We can see all 41 reviews. You can kind of see the review dispersion. These reviews not only help players when they're looking to see what people are talking about, see different GMs and what sessions they ran. There's a bunch of good stuff here. But what we plan to do is we're also going to, the bottom of this page is going to be built out. We're going to have the module section that links to all the different modules, which will have their own landing pages as well. All the classes built out, all the different virtual tabletop purchasing, things like that. So these pages are going to be pretty fully fleshed out pretty soon. And we're trying to hit 100 of them by February 28th. There'll probably be Tales from the Loop. I would assume that would make the cut too. But what we're going to decide is they're going to do the first 100 most popular systems and modules. So we have a bunch of modules from Pathfinder and D&D, and probably some third-party D&D modules as well, like Dungeons of Drakenheim, some stuff like that. But we're going to essentially get all these landing pages built. I think Mutants and Masterminds is next. Hunter has the list of what is next for those landing pages. Let's see. He actually sent me a note. Let's see. The next landing pages we got being built is Avatar Legends, Star Trek Adventures, Multiverse, Waterdeep Dragon Heist, Avernus Baldur's Gate, Ram of the Frostmaiden, Stormwreck Isles, Lancer, Fallout, Masks, A New Generation, Vecna Eve of Ruin, and Wild Beyond the Witchlight. So those are what's coming up. Those emails will be going out about those. So if you want to review them, get on those pages early, you'll see that probably with the GM newsletter. But we're pretty sure this is going to not only increase our organic traffic to these different pages, but I mean, what was it? Let me see if I can pull up this number. Yeah. Okay. So far, these pages have already gotten 20,000 impressions, and we just launched them, right? Google hasn't even fully indexed these. well, they've indexed them, but like, usually when you launch new pages, you're going to take a few months to start ranking pretty highly. Some of these pages are rank on first page. We're expecting more, especially as we have more information. Right now it's only, in the first 2 weeks of them being launched, it's only driven around 200 users in traffic. But that's only in like 30 days, right? In 30 days, but it's only been launched for about 2 weeks, yada, yada, yada. So if we launch 100 of these, we're expecting the traffic to these games to kind of be quite substantial. Because a lot of people just don't know about Start Playing, but are searching for these games. And so we're hoping that this drives a lot of organic traffic. Now, we already know that like 30% of our users find us through organic. They're just like Googling, find a D&D game or something like that, and we're coming up. And so now find a Call of Cthulhu game, find a Cyberpunk Red game. We think that this is going to drive that same level of traffic. We got some questions. Oh my gosh. Okay. Is it about what we're talking about? Okay, let's see. Which is more popular, East Coast evenings or West Coast evenings? I would probably say East Coast evenings, but I wouldn't disregard the West Coast. I had like 5 user interviews with people from the West Coast just this week and last week. Devin, what are your stats? How much do you bench? Ooh, I don't bench a lot. It is shameful. I should be benching more than I do. How does active players to GM numbers compared to say? Oh, we already answered that one. Okay. Are you okay with the whole fires? Yes, we are okay. We're up in San Francisco, but we do have a number of staff that are in LA, and they are safe. But again, it's super scary. Which also talks to the big fundraiser we have right now for the California Foundation Fund. Let me go ahead and bring that up. I'll put that in chat. Actually, do I have it right here? Yeah, I do. Let's go ahead and bring that up. We talked about that real quick. Find games. The California Foundation Fund. We're raising money. This money will go towards, essentially the folks who are affected by the fires the most. And we've already raised $155. This is great. And Start Playing, we're going to match funds raised up to $1,000. All funds earned on this, we're waiving all of our fees as well. So we'll be emailing this out to players tomorrow, in tomorrow's email to players. Let's see. Dreams question: are you going to make a reviews appear randomly on the landing page rather than most recent? Dreams, we're probably going to make reviews show, we're going to A/B test on what we end up doing with reviews eventually. But I believe I think my hypothesis is that games run will probably be the most popular. But we'll see how people decide they want to filter it and use that data. Question: how does one make an indie tabletop RPG more popular to try? What's the primary keys to focus on? Having a community. Once you have some players that are playing with you and saying like, hey, I want to run this game, who wants to play it? You have 2 or 3 of your community that want to play that game, putting that on Start Playing, and then people coming across is like, I've always wanted to play this game. This game already has 3 players in it. I'm going to join. They're needing to be supply for demand to eat up. But if that game never exists on Start Playing and there seems to be no interest, you need that little bit of social proof. And if you have a community that you've already built up from the games you're running, and having them kind of help see those early games helps a lot in filling out the rest of your table. Dear Sign says, Werewolf the Apocalypse. Yes, Werewolf the Apocalypse will be one of those games. Let's see. Other questions. Joshua, is there any data on the conversion from impressions to actual bookings for folks posting reviews? It's way too early to tell. Way too early to tell. I would probably say like in 4 months, we'll probably have some really good data, because all pages will have been indexed and actually have a pretty nice weighting on their rankings. But it's also, this is just when people get to it from search. We're really curious on how people are going to get to these when we start making them more visible on the actual website as is. Let's see. Okay, that's okay. I think we got to all the questions except for Avids. Am I the only one distracted by the lag and the wall clock? It is a little bit behind, huh? Okay, let me go to my notes and see what we have. Oh, yeah. I was going to talk about impressions and things like that. Okay, where did that go? So if we look at our blog, which is really cool, we found out that our blog is actually our blog drives a lot of traffic, like a lot. Like it drove over almost 500,000 impressions in 1 month. And that equates to around, almost 7,000 users coming to the site just from our blog. So we're doing some nice measurement. We think, it's a kind of a small amount that convert, but let's say if you knew that for every 100 people, one of those people converts, right? That means you have a 1% conversion rate. If you can then get 200 people, you know that 2 people will convert. So if you're like, hey, let's go ahead and get 200,000 people, then you know that, okay, 2,000 people will convert. So if you can scale that, then you can also scale your conversions. And so there is a project that we're going to have going that's going to be targeting specifically a lot of other game systems, a lot of other keywords that is also for increasing the blog's presence to see if it's also going to help us. So we're going to actually try to double the amount of output that we have on the blog. Right now, this is the blog does this with 352 articles. 352 articles has equated to around 7,000 users, new users a month, and 500,000 in impressions. So that's pretty good. But can we double that? And so we have a project that is going to see, try to double that and see what the actual impact is. And so that's another kind of SEO project we're working on. Are UK evening times popular? That's US morning times. So they are, I wouldn't say they're the most popular. But we have, we have a number of users in the UK, in Europe. I would say, somewhere between 5 and 10%. Let's see. Question: does data show that session price is a heavy factor in popularity of games? Looking to see if the data shows a lower price. So spaghetti thyme. That kind of analysis is just too minute, or is too micro specific to actually see any trends in, because price fluctuates so much. And we'll see some people pricing their games at $10 with crazy conversion rates, other people pricing their games at $10 with 0 conversion rate, and some people pricing their games at 30, 35. The thing is, you'd have to also do an analysis with how many people is already playing with that GM to determine the popularity of the price. It becomes a really kind of complex analysis. So I don't have anything on that I could give you. Okay. Let's see. Let me go back to my notes. Starter set. Starter set team. It's coming. It's coming to the full site. I'm very excited. Nuance. That's a good word for it. Thank you. Starter set is coming site-wide. We are working on an automated process to give game masters access to starter set. We are still working on what that will be, but starter set will be launching. There'll be some new things. It's currently turned off. Well, we're not. It's not accessible. But yeah. Let's see. What did I want to get across? I just wrote starter set here. Starter set is going to be site-wide. So you'll be able to access starter set from the search page. You'll be able to access starter set from the home page. You'll be able to access starter set from the D&D play page. And you'll be able to access starter set. All the starter set games will also show up in search normally. That's some of the stuff that will be rolling out. We will be doing an A/B test to see that does starter set increase conversions and signups. So some people will see starter set on the site normally, and some people will see it not on the site. And we're just going to see which one has the highest amount of conversions. We'll probably run that for about a week. We only ran the last time for 4 days, 5 days. 2 weeks. And it was just ads traffic, and we were seeing hey, what works best for signups, and we were testing a bunch of different flows, and we got an answer pretty quickly. But we'll be doing a site-wide test with starter set, probably starting the 17th is what I would expect. Starter set, we have more flexibility with scheduled runtimes, Damian. So we're probably going to be adding 1 to 2 new start times, but we won't be adding more until we see kind of like a critical mass. We're probably going to look to add in a feature that says like demand more times or a player request more times. We did some surveying. We did a bunch of research where we said, hey, you joined up for starter set, but you never actually booked. What happened? And some of the big reasons were I didn't have a laptop, or I didn't want to play on a laptop. I only have my phone, things like that. Another big one was price. So those were the 2 biggest factors that like kind of prevented people from playing. There was some folks that were like, I couldn't find the right time. And those were folks that were actually outside of the US and they weren't really to be part of the test. There was some folks in Japan that were like, oh, I couldn't find a time that worked great in Japan. It was only like 9 a.m. in the morning on Saturdays that would have worked for me. And so that, I kind of disregarded that because we weren't targeting international. That will be like a follow-up step, but eventually we will have to have like a solution that allows you to find like all different times, but we still want to funnel people into a restricted amount so as many games tilt as possible. So we are trying to figure out like how to do times. We're going to be expanding probably 1 or 2 more time slots in the starter set to start, and if we can see, if we can continue to fill up in those games, then we'll expand more times, or if we hear more feedback from players that they're looking for more times. But the biggest reasons why people didn't play is they couldn't play on their phone and price. Now, playing on your phone and price were also commonalities between 2. So like people who like were like a little price sensitive also only want to play on their phone, which means if we target people just on their phones, are all those people price sensitive? I'm not sure. I couldn't say. But I think there's a market that GMs could look to target that is mobile only sessions where all you need is your phone with Discord to play this. There could be something there. That is something I gleaned from this. I don't have a lot else to offer you. That a lot of people who just did not convert into games is because they needed a desktop or laptop and they didn't have those things. We're going to go back to some questions here before I continue. Adam Wemp. I think it's already been answered in previous office hours, but are we going to get a starter set in other games? Adam Wimp, yeah, if the other publishers are willing to put in the effort to make that a thing, we will definitely be doing other games. We've talked to a few other publishers saying like, hey, this needs to have a nice pipeline of your audience that already knows about you being sent to start playing so that we can help these people. We already know that we are the best way to onboard people to games. So if we can get publishers committed to that, then absolutely we'll see other games. That's why starter set, if you have it, is a drop down to choose which template you're going to make. Okay. Age Wondersmith, how does one get part of starter set? I'm going to talk about that in a sec. Question, is starter set still restricted to D&D 5e? If so, does it make a difference of 2014 or 2024? It's 2024 is I think what we're going to land on for starter set, and currently it's just D&D unless more publishers are able to get on and be a part of this, which I think there's a lot of room for. Starter set will have more freedom in terms of session length and max player count. I had a good experience overall, but 2 hours with 6 players was rough. Colby, I definitely hear you that's rough. The reason we did it is one of the biggest hurdles we heard about when I asked people about why aren't they in the game is I don't have the time for that. So we found like the minimum amount of time people are willing to invest to try something new, and it was around 2 hours. Nate wanted to do an hour and a half. He's like, let's just make this 90 minutes. The reason why we made it 2 hours is also because we want to have the price lower, right? So if we make it longer, that means the GM is making less per hour. So this is already kind of a low amount, but it's also enough for someone to be like, you know what? Let's do this. Now, the rate of starter set players to then joining campaigns is huge. I talked with this woman who I go into this other rant later about how she came about starter set games, but she's already played in 4 one-shots. She's in an indie game and a weekly D&D game. So she's in 2 campaigns, one non-D&D and one D&D. That was insane how well that she converted into a full-time user. But the goal is we know people are going to be turned away by long times, and we need to make them all very structured, because if people wanted more customization and what they're looking for, search is there for them. This is for trying to create some sort of standardization. So we're not going to be expanding a lot of freedom in terms of session length and max player count. Okay. Dreams question. So you're having landing pages of certain module adventures? Yes. Chris Hodge has the thought that a filter that allows players to filter by amount of games run separates people trying to break into the business from those doing it longer, making it harder to start up. Chris, can you ask that question again? The phrasing is I'm not sure what you're asking. Okay. Let's see. Do I have any other questions here? Okay, cool. So we did a very interesting stunt that I'm going to present into a blog post and, a video and stuff later. But I want to tell you early about how this happened. What we did is, if you, some of you who know me also know that I'm Total Party Chill. So on Total Party Chill side, we created a campaign that says, "Hey, are you interested in D&D?" And we put it out on the web. If you're interested in D&D, fill out this survey. The survey said things like, "Hey, have you ever played D&D before? Why do you want to play D&D?" And we found essentially 50 people who are interested in D&D, but they've never played. Or they played when they were young, or they, made a character, but they never actually got to play, things like that. And we sent half of them a D&D starter box, like the essentials kit or the starter adventure. And we sent the other half, we said, "Hey, listen, we are actually set you up with a game with a professional dungeon master. Get in here, play." And then we interviewed both parties a month later to see, are they playing D&D? What happened? Precisely 0 people that we sent a starter box to ended up playing it or are playing D&D. Around 95% of people who we got with a pro game are now playing D&D or running D&D. And this is just more, this is an argument for why professional dungeon masters are the best way to learn a game, the best way to onboard to a game. This is just kind of it's a stunt campaign is what it is. This isn't actual scientific research. But anecdotally, when you give 25 people a starter set box and you give 25 people, into a game with a professional dungeon master, the results are staggering. Let's see. So that was a really fun project. We're still doing some of the interviews on it, but we're hearing a lot about people who are I'm now playing on Start Playing. One person I'm not playing on Start Playing after I had that GM, but I am running games for my kids now. I know how to run a game because I played the game, and then they said everything kind of clicked. Tyler says, "I had one of my starter set games that was all players who wanted to see how to DM a game so they could run their own. Is there potential for a learn to DM classes?" Probably. But the thing is, I would say that's going to be a big portion of Start Playing when we hit 1 million GMs. There's going to be a point where Start Playing has grown to the point where we have to actually onboard people to become GMs and to continue to grow. We haven't hit that yet. We're far from that. But I think right now there's already an opportunity you could just put out there "Hey, I want to here's a 101 DM class." But I think a lot of people that want to be DMs, would like to find an easier path. Okay. So that was that fun stunt campaign. Almost everyone that went through starter set games ended up, booking with a GM. Now, not as many ended up booking with the GM they played with, which was interesting. But I know a lot of them also then felt very confident using the site. So starter set seems to have been a success with getting players to continue playing. So we'll find out what happens when we do a larger launch, which I'm excited for. Chris Hodge has the thought that a filter that allows players to search by amount of games run will make much harder to break into this as a business been thrown out there. Let's run. Has the thought that a filter that allows players to search by amount of games run will make it much harder to break into the business out there. Chris Hodge, I think what you're trying to say, Chris Hodge, is that have we thought about making a filter that allows for players to search by the amount of games that a GM has run? And have we thought that it will make it harder to break into the business being thrown out there? We haven't thought about making a filter by games run. Games run isn't a qualifier of quality. There's a lot of GMs who have run a lot of games who probably don't have the highest NPS score or the highest retention, but they've run a lot of games. That's not a filter that we're probably too concerned with. What we would like to do is we were talking about starter set and like how to get access to starter set. We want to make that automated. We want to make an automated way to get access to starter set. At first, it's going to be manual. It's going to be apply, review, get access, but we'd like to make it manual. And so how do you do that, right? Well, you want to look like, hey, what's your retention score? Like, are you really good at retaining players? What's your onboarding score? Are you really good at like when players play with you? Do they play in the actual game that they sign up for? And then do they go onto the site or play with you? These are some metrics that we consider reliability metrics, right? And there's an onboarding metric, which me and Jared have been talking about making that metric exposed to the game master on the game master dashboard privately. So you can see, hey, what is my onboarding rate? And an onboarding rate is people sign up for a game with you. What is the percentage chance that they end up playing with you? Now, we got to figure out what that top number is, right? Because we know that some people will sign up for a game and immediately leave. So that probably shouldn't count, right? But if a game is scheduled for Thursday and I sign up for a game on Monday and Thursday comes, if I end up playing that game, that means the onboarding rate was successful. Now, if someone leaves before that Thursday, then that doesn't really affect the onboarding rate. But if a game is supposed to come on Thursday and it passes because maybe the GM couldn't run it, or maybe there was enough players, but the game was scheduled to happen on that Thursday and there was no rescheduling, there's things like that, shows the onboarding rate is lower. Now, the onboarding rate is a very raw rate, right? We need to find a way to kind of take in a lot of nuance. Of course, people being sick, players needing to skip, etc. So we need to figure out how to do that first. But an onboarding rate is a really great way to help identify who would be great for starter set games. And a reliability rate would also be really good. And a reliability rate that isn't just your reliability rate to the player to you, but the reliability rate or the retention rate from you to the player and the player to the site. So, for example, Junie is a master on the site, a game master on the site, and he ran a fantastic starter set game for a player. That player had a fantastic time, but there was no games that Junie was running that the player wanted to play in. So the player went and played in a different game. That should still count as a positive point for Junie because Junie gave them such a great experience that they went to the site to find another great GM. That shouldn't count against Junie's retention rate because maybe Junie doesn't even have more games to allow that person to play in, right? But Junie did such a great job that person wanted to go and find another GM. So that is a positive metric. And so those are some things that we want to look at when we create like who can get access to starter set. And it'll probably also include things like, you know, how many sessions have you run of X system? How many reviews do you have of running X session or X system? Those are things that we're thinking about. Okay. Question, probably probably people know this already, but what is NPS score? NPS score is Net Promoter Score. And Net Promoter Score means like, hey, are people a fan of you, of Start Playing, of this? And it's like, you know, how likely are you to recommend it, or how upset would you be if it was gone tomorrow? And using that scale of 1 to 10, 1 to 5 to determine how much you care about something. And if all your answers are 9 and 10, people really care about your stuff. If people are answering 6, 7, 8, if you were gone tomorrow, they wouldn't care. Question, with starter set, has SVG considered standardizing the adventure, like using a module or coaching what to do in that 2 hours? Togify, we haven't, because we were picking GMs that we knew were the most experienced to be able to do that. If we need to funnel it with more GMs that are maybe not as experienced, we will probably have to do something like that. But we chose GMs that we knew, like, hey, they can learn new things, they can ramp up. We chose GMs that we knew that were like highly, that we know are like many GMs, highly intelligent, highly adaptable, and able to, be flexible and change things to kind of fit inside that mold, because that's what's going to allow us to kind of scale on players. Can a cert by player number be useful? Like I run one player session. Can a cert by player? Ash, can you ask that question again? Should this? Yeah. Well, that's what I said. Reliability has so much. Like player reliability is a huge thing too. Like, is a player a flake? Does this player miss many sessions? That's also a thing. And so that's why you have a player skip and you have a skip button. So we can, so there's so much nuance that's involved in that. I'm sure this is too nuanced to isolate a surefire way to increase retention, but would there be any classes or webinars in the future for GMs to take to learn best retention practices? Dylan, yeah, actually, I believe GM Blog actually teaches that in his webinar. It teaches retention. He's one of the really, really popular webinars you can find in your email when the webinar series is announced. Each month we have a webinar series. Austin, question. My campaign has incidentally turned into a revolving door because of my scheduling changes. It's really hurt my game. Any tips on player retention? I would recommend sit in that webinar with GM Blog. And I do want to have him also make a article that is like something that we have as an evergreen. There's also tips and tricks. So I got to bother him about that again. Maybe he even sent it to me. I forgot. But that was one of the ideas I did want to do, is have him write that as an article. Starter set. Many of us on Discord discussed a suggested structure. Yeah, actually, we emailed a bunch of people who are part of Starter Set and got a lot of feedback from them. Damien says, that said, 3 hours would have been preferable. If I see that would have been preferable. It's one of those things that it prevents players from signing up that it was more than 2 hours. And here's the thing. It's one of those things where when I tell people, like, oh, how long do you play D&D for? 4 hours. What? 4 hours? You play a game for 4 hours? And then I introduce them to the game, and they're like, wow, I could play for longer. This isn't enough. And it's really just the fact that, like, person who's never played and a person who has a different expectation of what time means of that game. And so we have to make these games 2 hours, because the newbie player is overwhelmed by the idea of a super long game. And we also want to make sure that, like, the price per session is advantageous to the GM. Togify says, read Ash's question without sort, not sure. Can a by player number be useful? I like to run one player sessions. Sort by player. Can a sort by player number be useful? I like to run, maybe. We're going to be working on matchmaking next, and then we will be moving into CRO after that. And now CRO will be helping a lot with search filters, things like that, category filters. But we're going to be working on SEO and matchmaking. And then after that, we'll be working on matchmaking and CRO, conversion rate optimization. Conversion rate optimization is like, hey, what can we do to make the site convert higher? Right now, we have like a 2-3% conversion rate. Which is pretty good, but it can fluctuate between 1.5 to 3. But if we can get it to 4, right? Even if you do 0.2% better conversion rate, the amount of traffic we're getting, that's a dramatic increase. And so we'll be doing a lot of exploring stuff like that, and that's a lot with like the homepage redesign, the product page redesign, and of course some added functionality to search. Okay. Question, are the GM webinars going to be available as recordings? My schedule has not matched up with the previous GM webinars. They are not going to be recordings. They might, some of them might be articles, but not likely going to be recordings. But they will be happening every month. Question, I ran one starter set and it did well, but on maps it was drudgery and I would not do it again. Any chance of letting us choose VTT? I would say if Starter Set was wildly popular independently and we had enough demand, you could use whatever you wanted. But right now we want to make sure it grows appropriately. So we'll be partnering with a VTT that will be the chosen VTT, because that VTT will also be sharing in promotion. And so the VTT we're going to be going with will kind of be announced after we work out some details with whatever virtual tabletop we land on. But we're still working through some of the tweaks on that. But we want to imagine this: you can come to the site, you can play in a Starter Set game. But what if you had a publisher or a VTT that was trying to send 100 to 200 people every day to Starter Set? That's going to make a change. That's going to make a difference. Let's see. Chris Hodge, sorry for the bad grammar. I'm trying to fit in the allotted character amount. My concern is that players will click a filter to see GM who has run many games, leaving new GMs. That's not a thing that exists, so you don't have to worry about that. And like I said earlier, games run isn't considered quality of the GM. Like we want to focus on like high reliable GMs, high onboarding GMs, high retention GMs. So those are things that we'll be focusing on. Let's see. 2 hours was great. You don't get everything finished, but you get an opportunity to bring them back for another round. Yes, exactly. So I've been hearing plan for shorter sessions, longer sessions. Is there a Goldilocks zone? Game Turtle, most people who run sessions on Start Playing, most games that get booked are between 2 and 3 hours. And so that's something to keep in mind. It was crazy to see WotC advertise you through Brennan. I can't remember the last time I saw them promote a third-party product. Jeremy, yes, it's really exciting that Wizards of the Coast sees the value in professional game masters and their contribution to gaming. And I'm really excited that they are helping leverage that and getting as much exposure to our GMs as possible. And I'm very excited that Brennan is one of our partners. I'm really glad that he joined up with us. That was 3 years ago now, or 2 years ago now, that he's officially kind of joined our team as a spokesperson and partner, but it's been really, really helpful. Let's see. Okay, question. New GM loot win? Dear Sam, some actually just came out like last month, but there's some others that we're still talking with, and hope to get that out sometime soon. Question. Do you approach companies for starter sets, or do they have to contact you? Anthony Crones, if they approach us, or we're already working with them and they have like an opportunity. So I would say it's a little bit of both. There's a lot of people we're already working with, but publishers have to really want to be involved. Like if they can commit to this, then like let's make it happen. But a lot of times there's very limited bandwidth on some of these publishers, and they just don't have the time or the bandwidth to actually work on a campaign. But there's a number that we already work with, we do events with, and if they have the volume, then we'll probably explore some sort of starter set. But the thing is, we need them to to build out the engineering side. We got hey, can you deliver 1,000 new users a month through this, so we can make it worthwhile to the GMs as well. All right, because here's the thing: if a publisher's yeah, we'll love to do it, and a publisher can only send 5 users a week, that's not going to help the GM fill games, right? And having it on site is good, but what I want it to be 50% the traffic that we have that is coming, that we're going to funnel into that, and then 50% the publisher. So we kind of want to match that, especially if we're going to dedicate engineering time and create an entire separate funnel for one game. What can we do to take on more responsibility and be more helpful within the SPG community? i.e. running webinars, writing articles, potentially modding Discord? Who should we contact? Dylan, if you want to get involved in anything, there actually was a Discord application and some others. But you can just always message support and say hey, here's my specialties. Is there anything I can work with? Starter set for Vampire the Masquerade would be quite advantageous for them. I imagine the same for smaller tabletop RPGs. Yep, I'm looking at RuneQuest specifically. If Chaosium had that bandwidth to leverage it, absolutely. I would be all about that. But I need to make sure that the time we're putting in is good for our GMs. At the end of the day, if it can boost GMs, great. That's what we want to do. But we want to do things that can boost 100 GMs, not one. And we want to make sure whatever we do is as impactful as possible. Okay. We have coming out a new list of the most popular games on Start Playing for 2024. I'm going to tell you what some of those are right now. I'm going to tell you what like the top 20 are. But we'll have a blog article coming out that talks about all those games. All right. Let's see. Philomenia Young, yes, and that's why like building an entire funnel just for that probably isn't ideal, because that means only one or two GMs can succeed from it, right? So we need to find like the balance there. Okay. The most popular game in 2024, Dungeons and Dragons. Second most popular game, Pathfinder 2e. Third most popular game, Vampire the Masquerade. Pathfinder 1e, Call of Cthulhu, Cyberpunk Red, Pokemon Table United, Lancer, Powered by the Apocalypse, Star Wars RPG by Fantasy Flight Games, Monster of the Week, Fallout the RPG, Starfinder, Worlds, Masks: A New Generation, World of Darkness, General Indie Tabletop RPG, Fabula Ultima, Shadowrun, Warhammer Fantasy, Shadowdark, GURPS, Alien the RPG, and Cypher Systems. Those were the most popular. Those were some of the most popular games of 2024. Now we'll have like the list of 100 on the blog in the next few weeks. Because that'll be nice to be able to see all those. Yeah, Lancer in the top 10. That's why Lancer will be getting its own landing page soon. Question, who did you say we should contact about writing articles? Andrew, you can go ahead and message support@startplayinggames.com. Heard Savage Worlds in there. Really happy now. I heard Fabula Ultima. Yep. Thank you. We'll have like the top 50 systems published in an article, but that was just like I think that was like the top 20 or something. Okay. Team, we're kind of winding down to what we had for today. If you have any other questions, let me know. And I'm happy to chat. Way to go. Way to go, Shadow Dark. Let's see. We talked about this with instant payouts. Yep. Now that we are in the new year, can we talk about international marketing plans? Dan, actually, international marketing already started. International marketing started in December. We have a whole separate campaign on Meta and Google just for international targeting. Right now, it's just English. English is the most prevalent language. And if we get a good spend there, then we're going to explore just English speaking, but not just to like English speaking countries. Let's see. I assume when you say Vampire the Masquerade, you mean 5th edition? Yes. 5th edition. Not 5e, but 5th edition. Nina, when will you announce the new mods for the Discord server? I don't know. That's once we pick them, that's when we'll do it. Question, are we seeing a good return on the international ads? It's still a little too early to say. We're seeing some weeks really good. We're seeing some weeks at like, $15, $20 CAC. And then we're seeing some weeks with like a $50 CAC on some of the international stuff. So we're going to just kind of wait to see if it levels out and like slowly scale it as we see good spend come through. For example, we have like our regular campaigns, right? We have our video campaigns that are just like, broad reach. Then we also have our other campaigns like US specific. And the reason why is like, we realized like if we had international in the US, that they would compete against each other and we would spend up. And so that's why we broke it out, like just a US campaign, just a Canada campaign, and then just a international campaign. So we have like a separate one for Canada as well. So it's kind of fluctuating, but I think especially as we get a new year, we'll see spend kind of begin to like even out. Facebook and Meta is a really kind of interesting platform right now. I don't know what the future for Instagram looks like, but if we can see a good spend there and we're seeing new customers come, we'll continue to find ways to leverage it. Question, when will we know if we were selected for the Monster Manual celebration? Probably next week. Would be wild for me to be able to run games at a reasonable time instead of 5 a.m. without much headache. I know, right? Yeah, I mean, right now, Australia seems to be the biggest booker of international ads. Yeah, so get it together, UK. Australia's beating you 6-1. But yeah, most bookings are coming from Australia and New Zealand. Blue Sky is becoming more popular. Is it a venue you can do anything with? Keith Langley, Blue Sky specifically is trying not to ever have ads. And so it's not something we can do outside of the organic stuff. But it'll probably be the same kind of organic stuff we do with Twitter. But they don't have anything that we can leverage at scale. Yeah. Game turtle, 50-50 if you're accepted or not. Yeah, here's the thing. The moment someone's not about professional game, I just ban them. I just ban them from our page. I pay for the ads. I don't need, there's no reason I need to have their comment on there if they don't like paid gaming. It's weird that you have such vitriol that you feel you need a comment. It's weird that people feel they need a comment on everything, right? But yeah, so it's just like remove, because it's not valuable. We've obviously proved there's there's tens of thousands of people who think it's valuable to pay a GM. And so, that argument is null for me. And I just don't even feel the need to engage with it. I do not understand vitriol. What drives it? I know. I love to run more games at 2 a.m. Eastern. I definitely tagged Blue Sky the other day. Yeah, it's one of those things. Team, it's really frustrating that it's me who runs our Blue Sky, our Twitter, or X, whatever we call it, our Threads, our Instagram, our Facebook, our everything. All of our social is me running it. So the fact that there's so many like these threads, Blue Sky, I forget there's another one. It's frustrating, but we are scaling where we can, where we know that we get nice returns. Has the team ever considered use an affiliate marketing style using small, medium creators for a low-cost marketing option? JR, yeah, we have. The thing is, affiliate marketing really works when you have like a top 1% of affiliate marketers. All the like smaller ones, it just it ends up drying out. So you put in a lot of energy to ramp people up, and then it just we don't see a huge return on it. We do have the referral links, and we have worked some stuff where like some creators we've just given them they use the referral link to kind of track, but again it's like pretty small numbers. The numbers that like Total Party Chill does with referrals is the only thing that's massive, but I'm putting a lot of energy into it. I think probably around $12,000 is how much Party Chill referrals have earned through just like telling people about Start Playing. And so, but I want to revisit affiliates in the future. I just feel like maybe small creators aren't the affiliates we're looking for, and we might need to find like people who are like affiliate writers and things like that. Can I buy you and the team a mead? Chris Hodge, next con, let's have a beer, but let me buy it because you're part of this community. You're making it great. Okay. What is Chill Referrals? Samuel, Total Party Chill is where I make content as a creator, like the songs you were hearing and podcasts, things like that. Everything I make on Total Party Chill, I promote Start Playing. And so when I was talking about the referrals that, the refer a friend, I've earned like $12,000 worth of credit with Total Party Chill, referring people to Start Playing. Of course, the credit's just like it's nothing because it's me referring my own company, right? So it's really zero that I earn, but $12,000 worth of like people signing up and that referral credit coming in. All right. Now I kind of want to start a D&D based meet. I love it. Okay. Can I be paid in American due to Trump's Canadian invasion plans? Kevin, if you can get an American bank account or a U.S. bank account, you can absolutely be paid in USD. If we wanted to officially represent Start Playing at a convention, how would we do that? Adam, we're not ready at a place to have that, but we will be looking at people who are like great partners online in the communities. to maybe be like start playing ambassadors in the future, but it probably won't be till next year, 2026, that we'll be looking into like have folks that may represent us at cons. Can I get a rough estimate of the average game count on the average active GMs on the site? I think the average GM runs like 5 games. Am I late? Do I have a content planning? All right, I gotta go. I have a meeting. Sergio, I'm sorry if you're watching this. I'm missing our meeting. I have to go. Team, thanks so much. I hope you have a fantastic Tuesday. We'll be back with office hours 2 weeks from now, so not next week, but the week following. And of course, we'll be here Thursday to be talking about the social media for professional dungeon masters, and we have a special ghost and guest, Church of Doom. Thank you so much, team. I will see you soon. Bye.
We've come on down to the tavern for trouble and for fun, and to talk about the